I love you, idiot. Sarah's voice cracked as tears streamed down her face. The restaurant fell silent, dozens of eyes turning to witness my moment of complete bewilderment. How had I missed it? The woman who had been by my side through the darkest year of my life, helping raise my daughter after my wife's death, had been in love with me all along. And I, consumed by grief and the challenges of single parenthood, had been completely blind to what everyone else could see. If you've ever missed what was right in front of you, or wondered if second chances at love are possible after loss, this story might just give you hope. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that remind us it's never too late to open our eyes, and our hearts. My name is Daniel Cooper, and 1 year ago, I couldn't imagine ever feeling whole again. When my wife Eliza died suddenly from an aneurysm, leaving me alone with our 5-year-old daughter Lily, I felt like I'd been thrown into the ocean without knowing how to swim. Every day was about survival, getting Lily to school, making sure she ate something besides cereal, trying to keep our house from looking like a disaster zone, and somehow managing my job as an architect from home as much as possible. The first few months were a blur of grief counseling, awkward playdates arranged by well-meaning parents from Lily's kindergarten class, and nights spent staring at the ceiling wondering how I was supposed to do this alone. Eliza had been the organized one, the one who remembered dentist appointments and knew which foods Lily would actually eat. I was the fun dad who built blanket forts and made up silly bedtime stories. Without Eliza, I felt like half a parent. Sarah Jenkins came into our lives 6 months after Eliza died. She was the new first-grade teacher at Lily's school, and the first parent-teacher conference with her changed everything. While other teachers had given me sympathetic looks and assured me Lily was doing as well as could be expected, Sarah was different. "Mr. Cooper," she said, her bright green eyes meeting mine directly across her desk, "Lily is struggling, but she's also incredibly resilient. She told me her mom is a star now. Is that something you told her?" I nodded, surprised by the lump forming in my throat. It was the only way I could explain it that didn't feel like a lie. Sarah smiled. "It's beautiful. And it's working for her. She draws her mom as a star in the sky watching over her in almost every picture. But she's also worried about you." "About me?" I asked, genuinely surprised. "She told me you forget to eat lunch sometimes. And that you don't laugh like you used to." Sarah's voice was gentle but matter-of-fact. "Children are perceptive, Mr. Cooper. They know when the adults in their lives are suffering." I remember feeling both exposed and relieved in that moment, like someone had finally seen through the "I'm fine" facade I'd been maintaining. "I'm doing my best," was all I could manage to say. "I know you are," Sarah replied. "And I'd like to help, if you'll let me." What started as extra attention for Lily gradually expanded into Sarah becoming a fixture in our lives. She offered to watch Lily after school twice a week so I could catch up on work. She introduced us to a meal planning app that saved me from the daily panic of figuring out dinner. When Lily had nightmares about her mom, Sarah suggested we keep a journal of "messages to the stars" that helped my daughter process her grief in a way I never would have thought of. Sarah was 32, never married, with a warmth that drew people to her naturally. Her curly brown hair was usually pulled back in a messy bun, and she wore colorful dresses that Lily adored. She had moved to our town of Oak Ridge from Chicago to be closer to her aging parents, trading a position at a prestigious private school for our small-town elementary. "Best decision I ever made," she told me once over coffee after she'd dropped Lily off from a museum trip. Looking back now, the signs were all there. Sarah would bring dinner over because I made too much anyway. She remembered how I took my coffee and would have it ready when I picked Lily up. She laughed at my terrible jokes and listened intently when I finally felt ready to talk about Eliza. My mother-in-law, during one of her visits, raised an eyebrow when Sarah's name came up for the 5th time in conversation. "She sounds lovely," Barbara said carefully. "And it seems like she spends a lot of time with you and Lily." "She's been a lifesaver," I replied, oblivious. "I don't know what we would have done without her this year." Barbara gave me a long look. Daniel, has it occurred to you that Sarah might have feelings for you? I actually laughed. She's Lily's teacher, Barb. She's just being kind because of our situation. Teachers don't usually spend their weekends helping single dads build backyard swing sets, she pointed out. She's a friend, I insisted. Besides, I'm not ready for anything like that. Barbara didn't push, but she did say something that would come back to me later. Sometimes the heart heals by loving again, not by waiting until the pain is gone. As the one-year anniversary of Eliza's death approached, I found myself sinking back into grief. Sarah noticed, of course she did, and suggested that instead of spending the day dwelling in sadness, we should do something to celebrate Eliza's life. She helped Lily and me plan a picnic at Eliza's favorite spot by the lake, where we released biodegradable lanterns into the evening sky while sharing our favorite memories. It was Sarah who thought to bring Eliza's favorite lemon cookies. Sarah who had helped Lily make a photo album of happy memories. Sarah who quietly handed me tissues when I needed them and gave me space when that was what I needed instead. As the last lantern drifted out of sight, Lily fell asleep on the picnic blanket, emotionally exhausted. Thank you, I said to Sarah, our shoulders almost touching as we sat looking out at the darkening water. I couldn't have gotten through today without you. Yes, you could have, she said softly. You're stronger than you think, Daniel. But I'm glad I could be here. Something shifted between us in that moment, a current of something more than friendship. For the first time since Eliza died, I felt a flutter of possibility. But just as quickly, guilt washed over me. How could I be sitting here, with my daughter asleep beside us and the memory of my wife all around us, feeling attracted to someone else? I pulled away slightly, and if Sarah noticed, she didn't let on. She just smiled and started packing up our picnic, humming softly to herself. The next few weeks were confusing. I found myself looking forward to seeing Sarah more than seemed appropriate. I noticed things I hadn't before, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, how her whole face lit up when she laughed, the gentle way she always spoke to Lily. My mother-in-law's words kept coming back to me, along with the uncomfortable realization that I might be developing feelings for Sarah. But every time those feelings surfaced, I pushed them down. It felt like a betrayal of Eliza. And besides, Sarah was Lily's teacher. She was just being kind, doing what any compassionate person would do. The last thing I wanted was to misinterpret her friendship and make things awkward. So I did what seemed sensible at the time, I started creating some distance. I picked Lily up from school instead of letting her stay for Sarah's after-school help. I made excuses when Sarah suggested weekend activities. I even started mentioning a fictional colleague at work who I was considering asking out, to make it clear I was moving on, just not with her. Looking back, I can see how hurtful my sudden withdrawal must have been, especially since I never explained why. But at the time, I thought I was doing the right thing, protecting our friendship and Lily's relationship with her teacher from my inconvenient feelings. The breaking point came at Lily's 7th birthday party. Sarah had helped plan it, of course, finding a local baker who could make the elaborate unicorn cake Lily wanted and suggesting the perfect venue, a children's museum that had after-hours parties. Despite my recent distance, she'd thrown herself into making the day special for Lily. The party was a success, with a dozen sugar-fueled first graders running through the museum's exhibits while parents chatted over coffee. As things were winding down, my sister Kate pulled me aside. "What is going on with you and Sarah?" she demanded in a hushed voice. "Nothing," I said, too quickly. "Why?" Kate rolled her eyes. "Because she's been in love with you for months, you've clearly got feelings for her too, and yet you're suddenly treating her like she has the plague." Lily noticed, by the way. She asked me why you're being weird around Miss Jenkins now. I felt my face flush. "It's complicated, Kate." "It's really not," my sister countered. "You're scared. I get it. But that woman has been there for you and Lily in ways no one could have expected. And instead of talking to her like an adult, you're pulling away and hurting her feelings. I'm not trying to hurt her, I protested. I don't know if I'm ready. And what if I'm misreading things? She's Lily's teacher. If I make things awkward and she pulls away, Lily loses another important person in her life. Kate's expression softened. Danny, everyone can see how she feels about you. Everyone except you, apparently. And Eliza would want you to be happy, you know that, right? Before I could respond, we were interrupted by the museum staff announcing it was time for cake. The moment passed, but Kate's words stayed with me as we gathered around to sing to Lily. I found myself watching Sarah as she helped Lily blow out the candles, her face glowing in the candlelight, and something inside me ached with wanting and fear all mixed together. After the party, as parents collected their sugar-crashed children, Sarah approached me with a small gift bag. "This is for you," she said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Just a little something." "You didn't need to get me anything," I said, surprised. "You already did so much for the party." "I wanted to," she replied simply. "Open it later." At home, after Lily had finally fallen asleep surrounded by new toys, I opened Sarah's gift. Inside was a leather-bound journal with my initials embossed on the cover. A note was tucked inside. "Daniel, sometimes the hardest stories to tell are the ones we tell ourselves. I thought you might need a place to work through yours. Whatever happens, know that this year has meant more to me than I can say. All my love, Sarah. All my love." The words seemed to leap off the page. Was Kate right? Had Sarah been in love with me all this time? And if she was, why hadn't she said anything? The answer came to me slowly as I flipped through the blank pages of the journal. She was waiting for me to be ready. She had given me space to grieve, supported me without demands, and now she was giving me the choice of what happened next. I spent that night writing in the journal, pouring out all the confusion and guilt and fear that had been building. By morning, I knew I needed to talk to Sarah, really talk to her, about what I was feeling. But first, I needed to talk to Lily. Over breakfast, I asked my daughter a question that had been weighing on me. "Lily-bug, you like Miss Jenkins a lot, don't you?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, milk dribbling down her chin. "She's the best. She knows all the dinosaur names and she never gets mad when I spill things. How would you feel if Miss Jenkins and I were special friends? More than just regular friends?" Lily looked at me like I was being particularly dense. "You mean like boyfriend and girlfriend?" I already told her that was okay. I nearly choked on my coffee. What? When did you talk to Miss Jenkins about this?" "At the museum, when you were talking to Aunt Kate. I asked her if she was going to be your girlfriend because Zoe's dad has a girlfriend and she makes him happy. Miss Jenkins said that was up to you, but that she cares about both of us very much." Lily took another bite of cereal, apparently finding nothing remarkable about this conversation. "And what did you say to that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "I said you care about her too but you're scared because of mommy being a star now. And she said she understands and that some things are worth waiting for." Lily looked up at me with Eliza's eyes. "Are you going to tell her you love her?" "Because I think you should." Out of the mouths of babes. I sat there, stunned by my daughter's simple wisdom and by the realization that Sarah and Lily had already had the conversation I'd been too afraid to initiate. "I think I should too," I finally said. I spent the day trying to figure out the right way to approach Sarah. Should I call her? Ask her to coffee? Both options seemed inadequate for what I needed to say. In the end, I decided to go to her classroom after school. Lily had a playdate with a friend, giving me the perfect opportunity to speak with Sarah alone. When I arrived at the school, however, the principal informed me that Sarah had called in sick, the first day she'd missed all year. Concerned, I asked for her address, explaining that Lily had made her a get-well card, a white lie, but for a good cause. Sarah lived in a small yellow bungalow about 10 minutes from the school. As I stood on her porch, flowers in one hand, I'd stopped at a florist on the way, and the journal in the other, I felt more nervous than I had on my first date with Eliza 15 years earlier. When Sarah opened the door, her eyes widened in surprise. She was wearing sweatpants and an oversized university sweatshirt, her hair piled messily on top of her head. Her nose was red, and she was clutching a tissue. "Daniel? What are you doing here?" Her voice was hoarse. "You're really sick," I said stupidly, taking in her appearance. She gave a congested laugh. "Yes, that's generally why people call in sick." "Did something happen with Lily?" "No, Lily's fine. She's at Emma's house." I shifted awkwardly on the porch. "I brought you these." I held out the flowers. "And I wanted to talk to you. But I can come back when you're feeling better." Sarah studied my face for a moment, then stepped back. "Come in. I'm not contagious, just allergies gone haywire. The pollen count is through the roof today." Her living room was exactly as I would have imagined it, bookshelves overflowing with novels and teaching resources, colorful throw pillows on a comfortable-looking couch, and framed photographs of what appeared to be family members on the walls. A half-empty mug of tea sat on the coffee table next to a dog-eared paperback. "Sorry about the mess," she said, quickly gathering a few tissues from the couch. "I wasn't expecting company." "It's fine. My place is much worse, as you know." I handed her the flowers, which she accepted with a small smile. "These are beautiful." "Thank you." She disappeared into the kitchen to put them in water, and I took the opportunity to gather my thoughts. When she returned, she sat on the opposite end of the couch, tucking her feet under her. "So," she said, "what did you want to talk about?" I took a deep breath and placed the journal on the coffee table between us. "I've been writing in this. A lot, actually. And I realized something important." I paused, my heart hammering in my chest. "I've been an idiot." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "That's not what I expected you to say." "It's true though. I've been so caught up in my grief and fear that I couldn't see what was right in front of me." I moved closer to her on the couch. "Sarah, this past year, you've become the most important person in my life, in our lives. You've helped me be a better father to Lily, you've helped me find my way through the darkest time I've ever experienced, and somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you." Her eyes widened, and for a terrifying moment, I thought I'd completely misread everything. But then I saw tears forming. I tried not to, I continued quickly. I felt guilty, like I was betraying Eliza. And I was scared, of changing things between us, of risking Lily's relationship with you if things didn't work out. So I pulled away instead of talking to you. And I'm sorry for that. Sarah wiped at her eyes with the tissue she was still holding. "You fell in love with me?" she asked, her voice small. "Yes," I said simply. "And according to my sister, my mother-in-law, and my 7-year-old daughter, you might have feelings for me too." Sarah's laugh was watery as she blew her nose. "Your entire family knew before you did. Even Lily." She shook her head, a mix of exasperation and fondness in her expression. "Daniel, I've been in love with you since that day at the lake. Maybe even before that. But I knew you weren't ready, and I would never have pushed." "I know," I said, reaching for her hand. "That's one of the things I love about you. You gave me space to heal at my own pace. But I think I've been ready for a while now, I just couldn't admit it to myself." She squeezed my hand, her eyes searching mine. "Are you sure? Because I don't want to be something you're doing because everyone else thinks you should, or because you feel obligated after everything we've been through together." "I'm sure," I said firmly. "And to prove it, I'd like to take you on a proper date. When you're feeling better and not covered in tissues, of course." That made her laugh again. "I must look terrible." You look beautiful, I said honestly. You always do. She rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her smile. Charmer. We spent the next hour talking, really talking, about our feelings, our fears, and what this might mean for us and for Lily. Sarah admitted she'd almost told me how she felt dozens of times but had always stopped herself, worried about adding any pressure to my grief journey. I confessed how guilty I'd felt when I first realized I was attracted to her, and how writing in the journal had helped me understand that loving Sarah didn't diminish what I'd had with Eliza. Eliza will always be Lily's mother, Sarah said softly. I would never try to replace her. I know that, I assured her. And Lily knows it too. She still talks to her star every night. When I finally left Sarah's house that evening, we had plans for dinner that weekend, our first official date. I felt lighter than I had in months, maybe even years. The guilt and fear hadn't disappeared entirely, but they had transformed into something manageable, something that no longer controlled my decisions. Lily was thrilled when I told her, bouncing around the living room chanting, I knew it, I knew it. Her enthusiasm was both heartwarming and a little humbling. My daughter had seen what I couldn't, or wouldn't, see for so long. Our first date was both wonderful and awkward. After more than a year of casual meals together with Lily, sitting across from Sarah at a nice restaurant felt strangely formal. We both dressed up, Sarah in a deep blue dress I'd never seen before, me in the only suit I owned that still fit properly. The conversation was stilted at first, both of us suddenly self-conscious in our new roles. This is weird, isn't it? Sarah finally said after our appetizers arrived. We already know each other's favorite foods and biggest fears, but now we're making small talk like strangers. I laughed, relieved she felt it too. Completely weird. Maybe we should skip ahead to the third date? That's when people are supposed to be comfortable with each other, right? I think we're well beyond the third date in emotional terms, she agreed with a smile. We just missed some of the traditional steps along the way. After that, the evening flowed more naturally. We talked about our childhoods, our college years, past relationships, all the getting-to-know-you conversations we'd skipped in our unusual friendship. By dessert, Sarah was telling me about her disastrous first teaching job at a school where the principal insisted on announcing fire drills by playing Disco Inferno over the PA system. When I walked her to her door at the end of the night, there was a moment of hesitation. Despite everything we'd shared, this step felt significant. Sarah must have sensed my uncertainty because she took the initiative, rising on her tiptoes to kiss me softly. Good night, Daniel, she whispered against my lips. Good night, I managed to reply, feeling like a teenager again. The next few months were a period of adjustment for all of us. Sarah and I took things slowly, mindful of Lily's feelings and the unique circumstances of our relationship. We had weekly family dinners, weekend outings to the park or museum, and the occasional date night when my sister could watch Lily. Sarah remained professional at school, careful to maintain appropriate boundaries between her roles as Lily's teacher and my girlfriend. There were challenges, of course. The first time Sarah stayed overnight at our house, Lily had a nightmare about her mother. As I comforted my daughter, I worried we were moving too fast. But in the morning, it was Sarah who suggested we visit Eliza's grave together, bringing fresh flowers and giving Lily space to talk about her mom. Your mommy will always be your mommy, Sarah told Lily as they arranged daisies, Eliza's favorite, on the grave. And she would be so proud of what a kind, smart girl you're becoming. Do you think she'd be mad that you sleep over sometimes? Lily asked with a child's directness. Sarah looked to me, unsure how to answer. I knelt beside them, placing my hand on the cool stone of Eliza's marker. I think your mom would want us all to be happy, I said carefully. She loved us so much that she would never want us to be sad forever. And Sarah makes us happy, doesn't she? Lily nodded. She makes the best pancakes. Even better than yours, Daddy. Well, I can't argue with that, I laughed, feeling a weight lift from my chest. As summer approached, bringing with it the end of the school year, we faced another transition. Sarah would no longer be Lily's teacher, which removed one complication but introduced another. How would our relationship evolve without the structure of the school year? The answer came unexpectedly one evening as we prepared dinner together in my kitchen. Lily was setting the table, carefully arranging the napkins just so, while Sarah and I chopped vegetables side by side. "I've been thinking," Sarah said casually, not looking up from the carrots she was slicing. "My lease is up in August." "Oh?" I replied, not immediately catching her meaning. "And this house has that extra office you never use. It would make a nice art space." I put down my knife, turning to face her. "Sarah Jenkins, are you inviting yourself to move in with us?" She looked up then, a mix of hope and vulnerability in her eyes. "I'm suggesting we talk about it. If it's too soon." "It's not too soon," I interrupted. "It's actually perfect timing." "Really?" she asked, her face lighting up. "Really," I confirmed. "Though I should probably check with the other resident of this house." I raised my voice slightly. "Lilybug, how would you feel if Sarah came to live with us? All the time, not just for sleepovers?" Lily looked up from her napkin folding, her expression serious. "Would she bring her books? She has way better books than we do." Sarah laughed. "Yes, all my books would come too." "Then okay," Lily said with a decisive nod before returning to her task. Just like that, our future took shape. Sarah moved in that August, her colorful throw pillows brightening our living room, her books filling the empty spaces on our shelves. The transition wasn't without its bumps. We had different ideas about organization, bedtimes, and the proper way to load a dishwasher, but each disagreement felt like part of building something new together, rather than obstacles to overcome. As Lily started second grade with a different teacher, Sarah took a position as the elementary school's literacy specialist, which gave her more flexible hours and the opportunity to work with children across multiple grades. Our routine settled into a comfortable rhythm of school drop-offs, family dinners, and quiet evenings together after Lily went to bed. It was during one of those quiet evenings, nearly a year after Sarah had moved in, that I found myself thinking about how completely my life had transformed. We were at a restaurant celebrating Sarah's birthday, a nice Italian place downtown that had become our special occasion spot. Lily was spending the night with my sister, giving us a rare evening alone. Sarah was telling me about a struggling reader who had made a breakthrough that day, her face animated with pride and excitement. As I watched her, I was struck by the depth of my love for this woman who had helped rebuild our broken little family into something new and beautiful. "I want to marry you," I blurted out, interrupting her story. Sarah froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. "What did you just say?" I hadn't planned this moment. The ring was still hidden in my sock drawer at home, but suddenly I couldn't wait another second. I reached across the table for her hand. "I want to marry you, Sarah. You've brought so much joy and love into our lives. You've helped me become a better father and a better man. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you. If you'll have me." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't answer immediately. Instead, she set down her wine glass and reached into her purse, pulling out a small velvet box. "I was going to ask you tonight," she said, her voice trembling slightly as she opened the box to reveal a simple silver band. I even practiced what I was going to say. I stared at the ring, then back at her face, before bursting into laughter. "We're both idiots, aren't we?" "Apparently," she agreed, laughing through her tears. "So, is that a yes from you?" "Only if it's a yes from you too," I countered. "Yes," she said firmly. 1,000 times yes." The restaurant erupted in applause. I'd completely forgotten we were in a public place, and someone sent over champagne. As we toasted our dual proposals, I felt a sense of rightness settle over me. This wasn't the life I had planned, but it was a beautiful one nonetheless. We decided to have a small wedding in the backyard of our home, now truly our home, with just family and close friends. Lily insisted on being both flower girl and best daughter, a role she took very seriously, helping to plan everything from the cake flavor to the music. The night before the wedding, I found myself standing in the backyard, looking up at the stars. Out of habit, I found myself talking to Eliza. "I think you'd like her," I said softly to the brightest star. "She loves Lily almost as much as we do. And she's helped me find my way back to happiness. I'll always love you, Liz. Always. But my heart has grown to love her too." A gentle hand touched my shoulder, and I turned to find Sarah standing behind me in her pajamas and robe. "Pre-wedding jitters?" she asked softly. "No," I said honestly. "Just saying goodnight to an old friend." Sarah looked up at the stars, then back at me. "Room for one more?" I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "Always." The wedding day dawned clear and perfect. Lily was radiant in her special dress, taking her duties so seriously that she practiced her walk down the makeshift aisle at least 20 times before guests arrived. My sister Kate helped Sarah get ready, while my brother-in-law Jim helped me with my tie and offered last-minute advice. "You got lucky twice," he told me as we watched guests filtering into the backyard. "Not many people get a second chance at this kind of happiness." "I know," I said, my eyes finding Sarah through the kitchen window as she laughed at something Kate said. "Believe me, I know." The ceremony itself was simple but meaningful. We wrote our own vows, with Sarah promising not only to love me but to honor Eliza's memory and to help Lily grow into the woman her mother would have been proud of. I promised to never again be blind to the love right in front of me, and to build a life of joy and adventure together. When it came time for the rings, Lily stepped forward with a special surprise. She had written her own vows too. I promised to pick up my toys most of the time, she read carefully from a crumpled piece of paper. "And to be a good listener when you tell me important things." I promised to help Sarah make pancakes on Sundays and to always remember that my mommy is watching from her star. And I promised that we will be the best family ever. There wasn't a dry eye in the yard as Sarah knelt down to hug Lily, whispering something in her ear that made my daughter beam with pride. The reception was a joyful celebration that lasted well into the evening. As the sun set and lanterns illuminated the yard, Sarah and I swayed together on our makeshift dance floor. "Happy?" she asked, her head resting against my chest. "More than I ever thought possible again," I replied honestly. Over her shoulder, I could see Lily dancing with my mother-in-law Barbara, both of them laughing as they twirled in circles. Barbara caught my eye and gave me a nod of approval that meant more than she could know. Later that night, after guests had gone and Lily was asleep upstairs, she had refused to stay with relatives, insisting that the first night as an official family should be spent together. Sarah and I sat on the porch swing, too wired to sleep despite our exhaustion. "You know," Sarah said thoughtfully, "when I moved here 3 years ago, I never imagined this is where I'd end up. First-grade teacher marries widowed dad of her student. It sounds like the plot of a Hallmark movie." I laughed. Complete with the oblivious male lead who can't see what's right in front of him. The most frustrating part was that everyone else could see it, Sarah admitted. "Your sister cornered me at Lily's birthday party and told me I needed to be more obvious because you were, and I quote, emotionally constipated." "That sounds like Kate," I groaned. Though she wasn't wrong. Sarah turned to face me, her expression suddenly serious. "I almost gave up, you know. When you started pulling away, talking about some woman at work you were interested in, which I now know was completely made up, I thought I'd misread everything. If it hadn't been for Lily." "What did Lily do?" I asked, curious. "She drew a family portrait for art class. It had you, her, me, and her mom as a star above us all. When I asked her about it, she said, 'This is my family now, but Daddy's scared to tell you.' That's when I knew I just needed to be patient a little longer." I shook my head, amazed once again by my daughter's wisdom. She's always been able to see things more clearly than I could. She gets that from her mother, Sarah said softly. At least, that's what your mother-in-law tells me. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, the porch swing creaking gently beneath us. The night was clear, stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on velvet. Do you think we'll have more kids someday? Sarah asked suddenly. The question caught me by surprise, but the answer came easily. I'd like that. Lily's always wanted to be a big sister. Sarah smiled, leaning her head against my shoulder. Me too. Not right away, but someday. Someday, I agreed, kissing the top of her head. As we sat there planning our future together, I felt a sense of peace that had been missing for so long. Life had taken me on a journey I never expected, through devastating loss to unexpected love, and while the path had been painful at times, I couldn't regret where it had led me. Sarah Jenkins Cooper had come into our lives when we needed her most, first as Lily's teacher, then as our friend, and now as my wife and Lily's stepmother. She hadn't erased our past or replaced what we'd lost. Instead, she had helped us build something new from the foundation of who we were. And it had all started because I was too blind to see what everyone else could, that sometimes love finds you when you're not looking for it, and sometimes the most important words are the ones shouted through tears across a crowded restaurant. I love you, idiot. Life doesn't always give us what we expect, but sometimes, if we're lucky, it gives us exactly what we need.